eeuoue spesie en die perfekte jagter, die withaai. As toproofdier bring withaie balans vir alle ander spesies in die voedselketting. Maar die balans word nou versteur.
We lose our white sharks, inevitably our marine ecosystems will break down, and I'm afraid to say that I'm already starting to see signs of that in this area here.
Mary Rowlandson is deel van 'n langdurige withaai-identifiseringsprogram wat withaai-getalle monitor. Daar's 5 plekke langs die Suid-Afrikaanse kuslyn waar die haie gereeld bymekaar kom. Vals en Gansbaai, Struisbaai, Mosselbaai en Algoabaai. Vandag probeer hulle withaie in Gansbaai identifiseer.
Sy gooi nou aas in die water en dan trap sy dit so lekker soos 'n ou druiwe getrap het in die ou tyd. En dan maak dit nou 'n olierige, visserige reuk wat dan 'n so lang lyn op die water gooi.
The chum line will go out for about a kilometre. So it's attracting sharks within the vicinity.
How many sightings have you had?
We've had no sightings of white sharks so far. Since we've been allowed to come out after lockdown,
Yeah.
we have not seen a white shark yet. Earlier on this year, in March, we had quite a good few sightings of some white sharks. I think we had about 6 individuals in that area in March.
So where are they?
I think, unfortunately, a lot of them have died. Many reasons for that. Again, speculation. We cannot say 100% what has caused that decline or what has caused their deaths. But the most likely reasons are beach nets and drum lines, especially up our east coast of South Africa.
Haie staan nie stil nie en hulle beweeg oor landsgrense heen. Deel van hulle migrasiepatroon neem hulle verby die argaïese KwaZulu-Natalse haainette wat gemiddeld 17 withaie en 'n klomp ander spesies vang. Hierdie migrasiepatroon behoort aan die withaai Brenda, wat as deel van die OSearch-program 'n satellietopspoorder gekry het. Die data wys dat sy al die pad tot by Mosambiek swem. Maar kyk waar is die laaste lesing van haar merker, op land. Sy is deur plaaslike vissers in hul nette gevang. Brenda was nog te jonk om geboorte te skenk. En navorsers vermoed nou dat withaai wyfies dalk eers na 33 jaar begin voortplant. En dan kry hulle net 5 tot 14 klein haatjies.
They are slow growing, they mature late. They are not designed to actually sustain excess mortality beside the natural mortality that they'll experience when they are a lot younger. Once they get to sub-adult, adult sizes, they rule the roost. There's no other species that actually preys on them, except now that killer whales are now entered the frame.
Baie mense glo die 2 moordvisse wat in 2015 op withaie begin jag maak het, is die oorsaak vir die verdwyning van die withaie uit Gans en Valsbaai. Die eerste leidrade was by Millers Point, toe duikers 7 kiefhaai karkasse gekry het.
So hierdie agter my is Miller Punt en hierdie is die plek waar die 7 kiefhaie altyd in die wintermaande uitgehang het. Nou dit gebeur omdat die withaie dan in die baai inkom en dit druk dan die 7 kiewe uit die gewone plek waar al die robbe uithang, waar al die kos is. En dan spandeer hulle dan die hele winter hier totdat die withaie dan weer uit die area uit beweeg en dan kan hulle weer teruggaan na Robbe Eiland toe.
As ons duik en ons kry 'n 7 kiefhaai of 2, die beste is om so rustig as moontlik te bly, nie enige skielike bewegings maak nie.
Navorsers dink die 7 kiewe skuil tussen die seebamboes omdat hulle ook deur die withaie gejag kan word. Hulle het wel gesien dat die 7 kiewe in die nag Robbe Eiland toe gaan om te gaan jag. Na 30 minute onder die water en tussen die seebamboes is die enigste teken van haai wat ons kan kry, 'n klein pofadder skaamooghaaietjie.
Nee, dit is regtig pragtig, mos. Daar was geen 7 kiewe nie. So, ek weet nie waar hulle is nie.
Nes die withaie, vermoed navorsers, het die 7 kiewe ook pad gegee. Daar's enkele bewyse dat sommige withaie in Mosselbaai gaan inklok het en een withaai met 'n akoestieke merker is in Sodwana, die noorde van KwaZulu-Natal, gevind. Maar Mary sê die koue waters is eintlik al lankal troebel.
Since 2016, we've watched the numbers drop dramatically. And then even more so if you compare Dr. Andriotti's data to my data from 2009, 2010, you can see some of their best days, they're identifying 20 to 40 white sharks a day.
Sure.
And now we are lucky if we see 3 a day.
Dr. Sarah Andriotti se resultate was skrikwekkend.
In our study, we counted 426 shark, and then from that we could estimate in between 300 and 500 shark in the population in South Africa.
That is very, very low.
Yes, that is very low, and everyone was expecting thousands of shark to be roaming around. When I came up with that result, we couldn't believe it ourselves.
Die vinidentifikasie-studie kon net 426 withaie opspoor. Daarom het sy ook genetika in haar studie gebruik. Genetika kan inligting soos vorige migrasiepatrone en die verwantskappe tussen individue uitlig.
Okay, but how does the genetics work? Because that's not counting.
No, the genetic is a bit different. The genetic gives an insight on how healthy the population is. And in our case, you can count the parents. So it's not the same as counting the individuals in the population now, but you can count how many parents were 1 generation ago in the population.
Elkeen van ons dra ons ouers se DNS binne ons. Withaie ook. So deur na die onvolwasse diere se DNS te kyk, kon die wetenskaplikes tel hoeveel individuele ouers daar in die water is.
How many juveniles did you have and how many parents did you estimate for them?
We had 233 juveniles in the data set, and the estimate of their parents was 333. And 333 parents is a very low number for a wild population.
Ander navorsers sê hierdie uitslag is te laag en dat daar eerder 1000 withaie in ons water is. Maar die punt is, of dit nou 500 of 1000 of 2000 is, dis nog steeds baie laag.
This population, it's going to be small. 450,000, it's a small population. And any mortality caused by fish mortality, whether it's legal or illegal, will have detrimental impacts on that population.
Die kommersiële visvangindustrie teiken natuurlik 'n groot hoeveelhede spesies in Suid-Afrika, van kreef tot by tuna, en elk word op 'n verskillende manier gevang. Maar elk van hierdie industrie het ook 'n groot hoeveelheid byvangste. Nou wat dit beteken is, jy trek 'n spesies uit wat jy nie noodwendig voor geaas het nie, wat jy nie noodwendig probeer vang het nie. Nou, deel van hierdie byvangste is haie. En jaarliks trek ons omtrent 2300 ton haie uit ons waters uit.
So wat is die kans dat withaie as byvangs uitgetrek word? Dit is die verspreidingspatroon van net 34 withaie. En dis hoe die tuna langlyn visvangbedryf se verspreidingspatroon lyk.
No fishery is allowed to catch any white sharks.
Dr. Kerwath is die departement van visserye se hoofnavorser.
If there are incidental catches of white sharks, these have to be reported to the department, and they have been reported in the past. The animals have to be handed over to the department so that we can investigate. Right?
But is that, logistically possible to now load a 4-meter animal on your boat that's taking up space? Is it not just easier to chuck it?
A lot of things would be much easier if you don't adhere to laws and regulations.
But nobody checks it out there. If there's no monitor on board, then nobody checks it there.
Okay, from our own experiences, you don't catch white sharks in these areas on the long line very often.
As deel van die langlynvisserye is daar ook 'n maksimum van 6 plaaslike bote wat spesifiek haie mag vang. Hul permit bepaal wel dat net sekere haie geteiken mag word.
So the video that I saw on Facebook was of a shark demersal longliner offloading their catch, but you could see that there were 2 white shark carcasses in that load that they pulled up.
Of die 2 byvangste gerapporteer is, dit weet ons nie.
With the demersal longline, on occasions they actually have caught a white shark informed the department, offloaded the white shark. So every single time that this happens, right, there is a media uproar. Is that right? Because are we encouraging them to do exactly what you suggest, to break the law and not hand in those animals to the department?
That is not the only report we've had. So
Really?
there's also a friend of ours that went as an observer on one of the long-lining boats in Mossel Bay. And on the one trip that he went on, they caught 2 white sharks.
So when was this? Was this 20 years ago?
No, this is recently, like in the last couple of years, this has been happening. I've also been sent a photograph by another fisherman as well, who is actually on board one of these long-lining boats, and they've got a picture of them posing with one of the white sharks.
In 'n parlementêre vraag en antwoord sessie het minister Barbara Creecy geantwoord dat daar vanaf 2016 net 2 withaie deur die haai langlynvisserye as byvangs gevang is. So is die 5 byvangste waarvan Mary praat met opset deur die regering stilgehou of is dit net nie gerapporteer nie?
It was a few years back when the department had an onboard observer program, which was run quite effectively for a number of fisheries. It's sad though that it's been about 6 years or so in terms of that this program has been defunct, and it's something that needs to be urgently revived. And it's something that I know the department is working on to get an onboard observer program up and running again.
Our observer coverage, scientific observers on these vessels, are amongst the highest in the world of any long-line fleet. And for any of our joint venture vessels, they have to have 100% observer coverage.
And locally, local companies?
Local companies, at the moment, we are approaching 20%.
As gevolg van die publiek se druk op die regering oor die 3 bote wat spesifiek haie vang, het die minister nou 'n haaipaneel opgestel wat uit plaaslike en internasionale fundies bestaan. Dr. Kerwath verduidelik wat een van hul oplossings is.
There are already moves in place here. We will be starting, as South Africa, a pilot program on electronic monitoring on this demersal shark longline vessel.
So hoe lyk die prentjie as mens al die verskillende gevalle bymekaar gooi? Ons weet daar word vanaf 2015 'n aantal withaie deur die 2 moordvisse gejag. Dan verdrink 17 withaie per jaar in die KwaZulu-Natal se haainette. En kom ons sê dat gemiddeld 1 tot 2 withaie deur kleiner vissers plaaslik en in ons buurlande gevang word. En ons spekuleer dat 3 tot 6 withaie as byvangs oor die hele langlynvisserye gevang word. Dan staan ons maklik op 20 tot 30 withaie wat jaarliks uit hul bevolking verwyder word. Om nie eens te praat van onwettige vangste nie. Die vraag is, kan die stadig groeiende visse wat lank vat om voort te plant soveel vrektes hanteer?
When we did the photo identification study, we actually didn't pick up 300 adults. Our adults number were a lot less. So it could have been that for some reason we didn't have all of the adults coming to the boat. It is a possibility. Or it could have been that in one generation the number of adults already declined.
Maar om vaste data te kry, gaan lank vat. Marine navorsing is een van die moeilikste velde om in te werk.
Removing sharks is actually playing Russian roulette with the ecosystem. It's in everyone's best interest to ensure that the system is maintained, that sharks are kept as apex predators, that they are protected, so that the ecosystem can remain in balance.
I don't think it's in anybody's interest to overexploit any of the marine living resources, and that needs to be understood.